Hey guys, what's up? It's Sydney. Welcome back to my channel and to the last episode of Haunted Locations Season 2. First of all, I want to say I'm sorry that I didn't put out a video last week. It was Thanksgiving week and I had a lot of stuff to do, lots of homework, lots of family stuff, and lots of stuff to do with my friends. So again, I'm sorry I didn't put out a video last week, but I was pretty busy and didn't really feel like it, to be completely honest. So as the people that are used to my channel already know, I do haunted locations, episodes, and stuff like that, different seasons of it. After this episode, I am going to be taking a short break from the haunted stuff to focus on some other things. But I do hope that you guys enjoy them. I am enjoying researching them and kind of writing scripts about them and stuff. It's actually been pretty fun, so I'm excited to share it with you guys. So let's get into our last episode of Season 2 for Haunted Locations. Now this week we are going to be talking about one of my favorite haunted locations in the world, and that is the Stanley Hotel. Now, as many of you probably already know, this hotel is actually very famous for Stephen King staying at this hotel in 1974 and basically basing The Shining off of his experience there. So this is actually one of my favorite places, and I'm really, really excited to talk about it because I already kind of know about it, and it was very interesting to research the hauntings that go on there. I do hope that you guys enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed looking into it. So just a little bit of back history on the hotel itself. It was owned by a man named Freeland Oscar Stanley, and he actually was a wealthy man from Maine. Stanley actually ended up moving to Estes Park, Colorado, where the Stanley Hotel is located. And he moved there actually because he was sick with tuberculosis, and his doctor basically told him that what would be very helpful to him recovering was to be in a different climate. So they basically moved. Now, Stanley was already wealthy. So when he moved to the Estes Park area, he actually noticed that there was no upscale, high class amenities around. So he actually wanted to open a hotel. And he loved the area so much, he knew he was going to stay there. So he opened a very high class and very ritzy kind of hotel for the upper class of Colorado. So Stanley did end up recovering from his tuberculosis, and the hotel remained open, and he wanted to stay in the area because he did love it so much. So Stanley built and opened the hotel in 1909. But the creepiest part of the layout of this hotel, however, is that it has a underground cave tunnel system, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So the history kind of collides with the paranormal activity stuff, so it's going to be kind of a mixture, so just keep up. So the most famous fact about this hotel, the Stanley Hotel, is that Stephen King and his wife stayed here with his child in 1974 on October 30th. And as some of you may know, there is some paranormal creepiness that kind of goes along with October 30th. It is referred to as the Devil's Night. Stephen King and his wife actually stayed in room 217, which is why it is known as the most famous room in all of the Stanley Hotel. Stephen King and his wife went to bed that evening, and Stephen King actually had a nightmare about his son being chased through the hallways of the Stanley Hotel, and he was incredibly terrified and shook up when he woke up. He went outside to smoke a cigarette, and when he was smoking a cigarette, he decided that he was going to write The Shining, which is interesting enough because Stephen King is just interesting himself as a character. Now, room 217 is actually said to be haunted by the head of the housekeeping, and her name was Elizabeth Wilson. One night, there was a terrible thunderstorm, and Mrs. Wilson was in room 217 as an explosion happened. She walked away, but she was injured. They say, however, that when she did eventually pass, her spirit came back to the hotel and continued to work. Guests find their luggage unpacked, their beds turned down, and items would move around the room as well. Now, Mrs. Wilson is said to be an old-fashioned kind of woman. So when couples would stay in room 217 that were not married, she would basically come between them. So many couples have reported feeling a cold presence between them, either in bed or in general, and that's very, very creepy. Now, in room 401 in the old design, the entire fourth floor was used for the nannies and the housekeepers and the female employees and their children when it was a high-class, ritzy kind of hotel back in the day. Now, guests often hear voices, children's voices. They also hear the children running around the entire fourth floor, but they like this room in particular because they have a favorite closet. And this closet likes to open and shut on its own a lot. So, hiding place. There are also often giggles and children's laughter. Sounds like they're playing in this room in particular as well. So, hiding place is probably a good guess. Now for room 428. And this room is known as the cowboy room. Now, some guests have reported seeing a FBA or full-bodied apparition at the end of their bed as a cowboy figure, which would be very disturbing, in my opinion. It is also said that in this room there are reports of footsteps above, which is kind of impossible because it's the fourth floor, it's the top floor, and the roof is basically at a slant, and it's kind of impossible to stand up there, so kind of creepy. Now on to the famous staircase. And the reason why this staircase is so famous is because a visitor or a guest basically took a picture of the staircase. It was daytime, there was a bunch of people around. No one looked frightened or freaked out or anything like that. And at the time, it just seemed like a normal, day. I think they were like checking out or something. And they got home and developed the pictures. And in the picture, there was a very clear full-bodied apparition of a woman standing at the top of the staircase. So, not really sure who this woman is, but she is standing there, and it's clear as day. And I'm pretty sure the picture is copyrighted, so I can't put it in this video. But you should look it up because it's very interesting. And now the vortex. So this particular spot in the hotel is between the floors and is in a main area of the hotel. And this is actually said to be a natural spiral of energy. So it's very interesting, and I really want to kind of research more into that and see why they do call it that. But I think that it's just basically works. It just draws in all of the paranormal activity to that particular spot. And it is said to be where the majority of these spirits in the hotel actually move about. So move from floor to floor. And this brings us to the concert hall, which is haunted by 3 ghosts as far as I could research. It is haunted by Flora, Paul, and Lucy. Flora Stanley actually plays the piano sometimes late at night and is apparently a friendly apparition, so that's good news. And not to mention, I would love to see that or hear that and walk in and there not be anybody there. That would be pretty freaky and pretty cool at the same time. Now, Paul was actually an employee of the Stanley Hotel, and he was asked to enforce the curfew. So the curfew there was 11 p.m. And he basically had to ask guests to leave the concert hall as the time was approaching. So that was one of his duties. Many ghost hunters and paranormal investigators have actually gone here and communicated with Paul using flashlights and other things. And he does respond, but apparently isn't as nice as Flora. So a lot of people have heard him whisper, "Get out," multiple times. So that's probably just him kicking people out because it's past 11 p.m. Now on to Lucy. And this one, honestly, is one of the sadder stories of the Stanley Hotel. From what I could find, Lucy was either a runaway or like a homeless girl, a child. And she basically would hide in the concert hall to escape from the harsh winter in Colorado. So that was kind of her way of survival. And the legend has it that one night they did kick her out like they often would, and she actually succumbed to the elements and died because of how cold it was outside. And that's honestly really sad and really tragic. But this does not stop her from entertaining ghost hunters and paranormal investigators alike. She is supposedly very friendly. That brings us to the underground caves. Now, these caves were actually used by the workers and is said to be one of the most active spots in the hotel. Now, it is said to be one of the most active spots in the hotel because the entire cave is filled with quartz crystals and limestone. And this actually acts as a magnet to paranormal activity. This is actually available to see on one of their tours, but it is actually incredible. I've seen videos, pictures, other YouTubers on this location, and it looks gorgeous. I would love to go here, and I definitely plan on it because it's not that far. From lights flickering to slamming doors to children giggling in their voices and footsteps above, you can basically check off every paranormal box in this place, and that is why it is so interesting to me. It is definitely a high priority on my bucket list. Thank you guys so much for watching this last episode of Season 2 Haunted Locations. And don't worry, I am going to be bringing the haunted locations back, but I want to take a little bit of a break because, as I said before when I ended Season 1, weird stuff does go on when I continue this series, and it just kind of attracts things to me, and not necessarily great things all the time. So sometimes I got to take a break in between and do other stuff. And I'm really, really excited to do this other stuff, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's going to be very different from what I usually do, and a little bit more on the comedic side instead of the more educational, creepy side. So just stay tuned, and I will be bringing the haunted location stuff back, I promise. Thank you guys so much again for watching. If you want to go ahead and give me a follow, you can. All of that will be in the outro, and I will see you guys next Wednesday.